giving you a mission. Next week, there's 2 shows that you have to see. This is one of them. Vanessa Sears has been in the Shaw Festival, Stratford, Broadway, Mirvish, and now she's performing next week in a one-woman show, Shedding a Skin, on for a limited time at Buddies and Bad Times Theater. In this interview, we talk about the behind-the-scenes work, nerves, and excitement in performing a solo show. Shedding a Skin explores themes of identity and community, filled with characters I can't wait to see come to life. We also talk about her journey as an actor hitting the Mirvish stage after graduating school, playing Juliet in Romeo and Juliet at Stratford, and so much more. Before we get into this interview, if you could hit the subscribe button, it helps us out so much and it doesn't cost you a damn thing. Thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me today again. I wanted to jump right in and talk about your project that you got coming up at the end of April. Tell me what the title and what it's about for those who don't know.
Absolutely. Okay, yeah. So the show that I'm working on right now is through Nightwood Theatre. It's called Shedding a Skin. It's written by a British playwright, Amanda Wilkin. And we're performing at Buddies in Bad Times. As you said, we start end of April. It is a solo show. It's kind of a show about finding yourself, finding who you are, finding your community. It's a coming of age story, but in a really interesting context as a solo show. Yeah.
Nice. That's amazing. And have you done a solo show before, or is this your first solo?
No, I have not. This is my first one.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's super exciting. I definitely, like when I received the offer to do this gig, I was definitely intimidated, but I thought, this is going to be a good challenge. I feel like this is a challenge that I'm ready for at this stage in my career. But it is it's unlike anything I've ever done. Our director, I believe it's also her first time doing a solo show. So we're both really learning as we go. And it's interesting to feel like I have so many tools in my toolbox that I'm like, yeah, no, I can still do that. That still works. And there are some things where I'm like, I don't know how to solve this because I am on my own. So on my own on stage, of course, we have lots of fabulous other collaborators in the room that just aren't other actors. But it's been a really cool challenge, but very different.
Excellent. And how is it? What are some of the things that you've learned along the way so far?
We have definitely spent some time exploring the different voices and different physicalities of character. And then one of the things that's evolved as we've continued to rehearse is okay, once we've established those kind of big benchmarks for these characters, what we've realized is that you can start to just reference them more minimally as you go on. So when you have 2 characters talking to each other, like when I am playing 2 or more characters in the same scene, sometimes it can feel a little bit outrageous to be doing the full, intense, embodied portrait of each character. It starts to feel a bit like a mime show. And then you start to realize that actually just popping the hip is enough to show that I'm this character now, or the tilt of the head shows that the perspective has shifted. So that's been really, really cool to explore, how we inhabit multiple people, how we embody these different voices and characters. We've got a set that, without giving too much away, without giving a spoiler, our set is a little interactive. The set is also a collaborator with me. We change and grow together, which is very cool. So that's been something that's been a bit of a grounding piece, a very visual metaphor for where my character is at in their story. There's also the show is set in London, so all the characters have an accent, and then I also do another character that has a Jamaican accent. So it's been a lot of different things to juggle, but we've got a bunch of really fabulous tools to kind of ground us in all these different moments. And Sharice's a really brilliant director, Sharice Richards, and she's just, in many ways, she is also she is my main scene partner. She's the person giving me a lot of feedback and saying that really worked. We need to get more specific there. I didn't buy that shift. Can you try that thought with more clarity? She's really, really, we have to be, I think, even more nuanced than, you're nuanced in all the work you do, or at least you aspire to be nuanced in all the work you do. But on a solo show, it is a whole other level of specificity. because you're following so many different journeys in one body. So it's yeah, it's a very interesting process, and we're both learning a ton.
Amazing. That's awesome. That is so cool. How are you with accents naturally? Have you always been good at accents, or is that something that you've worked on later on in life?
I think that like a couple of years ago, I would have said, yeah, I'm really good at accents. But it's been a while since I've had to do them, um, and especially a British accent. I think when you're in theater school, again, with all of these British playwrights and also just so much British media, like, um, I think obviously Canada is super heavily influenced by by that whole side of the world. So it's always been like a very accessible reference. I think we all can like, we know what Julie Andrews sounds like in our head to pick like a very classic, like we all have like an iconic British voice that's probably pretty accessible in our mind and in our memory, or at least I certainly did. But it had been a long time since I'd actually used accents on stage. And what's been a really cool challenge, again, it's the word of my era right now is just challenge. But it's really interesting. So I am half Jamaican. My mother is Jamaican, but she grew up mostly in Canada, and I have not gotten to spend a ton of time with my family who's still over there. And I grew up in a very small town where there was not like a black community, forget about a Jamaican community. So I didn't grow up really hearing the Jamaican accent a ton. I heard it here and there. Some of my relatives still have a bit of an accent, the ones who are in Canada. But I wasn't surrounded by it all the time growing up. And so it's been a really interesting challenge because of course in this play, part of Maya's finding herself is reckoning with this feeling that she's not enough, that she's not black enough, that she doesn't fit into a white space or a black space. And so it's been really interesting working on this Jamaican accent, which is less familiar to me, which feels like when you're in the pocket and you're riding it, you're like, yeah, 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 I got it. And then when one word trips you up, you're like, oh no, I am a failure. So it's interesting. It's like more emotional and more personal than the British accent. So that's been really bittersweet to explore.
Nice. Amazing. I like how you put that. That was very nice.
Thanks. I'm thinking about it a lot. This week we're in like right now in rehearsal. We're in our third week. We go into the theater next week, this Sunday actually, and we're definitely in the soup of it all right now. Like I'm getting more and more off book and really trying to ride the entire character arc of the story, and it's been so the accents and like being able to ride the flow and stay in it when you're not, when a word or two or a phrase trips you up, like has been a definite thing I'm chewing on this week in particular. So I think that's very much on my mind and in my heart today, especially.
Yeah, for sure. And you're right. As soon as you slip up one word, I go into a whole new accent. I'm
It's
like,
wild. Yes. And the British colonized Jamaica. So there are some weird similarities. And when you're oscillating between the two accents in a dialogue, it's like sometimes you're speaking as this older 90-year-old Jamaican woman, and suddenly you're like, oh no, slipped up. Now I'm into the Queen's English. Like they actually do brush up really close together, and yet they're so distinct and so different. So it's a really, really fun thing to be working on and biting into. And we have a great dialect coach, so that's been really fun to work with him. Peter Bailey, um, yeah, has been very, very helpful with both those accents, and of course all the different dialects in the London as well. It's a lot of stuff bouncing around in my brain.
yes, that's a lot. Even to differentiate like the different regions of
Hmm.
London, like one
Yeah,
neighborhood is different from another neighborhood. It's
exactly,
very
100%.
particular.
Hmm.
That's amazing. That is so cool. So, when you got this gig, what excited you about it?
Oh, honestly, truly, the thing that I was most stoked about was that Charissa was directing it.
Nice.
We like worked together at the Shaw Festival, but never on the same show. I don't think we were just like in each other's proximity, and got to hang out at parties and stuff. And I really liked her vibe. And when she started transitioning into doing more directing, I got to see some of what she was working on. She's also been really supportive of me as I start dipping a toe into directing. So we've always kind of had a really nice little mini bond. And then I saw her production of Red Velvet at Crow's Theater, and I was just blown away. I was like, this woman is so smart, which we already knew, but like, wow, look at her intelligence just pouring itself out on this stage. And look what specific, beautiful, incredible choices she's made as a director for the vision so early in her directing career. So I've been looking for the opportunity to work with her since then. You know, I'm like so excited to continue to see how she grows and all of the fabulous stuff she gets to keep doing and keep learning in her career. So when I saw that it was her on this project, I was like, yeah, that's so scary. A solo show with a bunch of accents. Um, but it's this director who I really trust and who I really want to work with. And we have very, very similar vibes and brains. So it's been really, really great. I'd also, you know, I'd love to work with her too, with other actors in the room. I think that would be great as well. But this has been a really special, unique time to get to really vibe with her. But that was the thing that jumped off the page at me. I was like, oh, if Sharifa's in, then I'm in. I want to work with her.
That's amazing. I love it. I love the artists supporting artists and women supporting women too.
Yeah,
It's an amazing thing to have in the artistic
totally.
community. I love it.
Yeah.
And what scared you about this project, taking it on? Were you nervous at all, or you were like, yes, I can do this? Or did you have any, those little voices in your head that are like,
Oh,
run?
totally. Absolutely. All the voices in my head are constantly screaming, run. Yeah, no, I'm super nervous. Again, it's just something I've never done before, and I had no context for what that would be. Um, I know some other actors who have done solo shows, and it's so personal to you, right? And also it depends on the show and the material. Like, our show, I think it's lovingly called a buddy comedy, even though it's a solo show. So, even when it's challenging, there's lots of joy in it. There's lots of humor. There's lots of, like, the room is laughing very often. And I think it would be a whole other thing to do, like, a tragedy as a solo show. Like, thank goodness I'm
Yes.
not spending, 80 minutes weeping on the floor. So, I was like, oh, there's tons of joy to be found. I think the writing's really witty. I think there are lots of parts of this that I'm super well suited for. But yeah, the accents and the whole being alone on stage the whole time is scary. And Buddies is an intimate space. I mean, it sounds really obvious that like there's no place to hide because you're the only one on stage. So of course, but I think for people who've spent time on stage that you'll understand what I mean when I say that like there's you can't put a mask up. Even though I'm not playing Vanessa, I'm playing a character. We are literally so close in proximity to the audience that there is no place to hide, you know? It's very vulnerable, it's very exposed, which I think is why it works. Like it has to be real and vulnerable, and close up. The whole show and the whole story is about like this feeling of reaching out to find community and reaching out to connect. So the content dictates form, all that jazz. But it's also very intimidating. And if you're listening, come to a preview. Be a really lovely, warm, supportive crowd because I'm gonna be shaking in my boots the first couple times I do this for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've worked in like Stratford, Shaw, Broadway, all of it. What is more, would you say those are scarier than solo on stage in an intimate scene, or same kind of nervousness and scariness but just
Yeah,
different
good
places?
question. I feel like okay, so I gotta preface this by saying that I am just an actor who gets stage fright. I just deal with that. It doesn't matter what the show is, I get a little stage fright. So everything is always a little scary.
Fair.
But it's still all scary in its different way. Being nervous whether you're gonna, I don't know, slay the big 11 o'clock number on Broadway is different than feeling nervous about your first monologue in Romeo and Juliet at the Stratford Festival. Like, those are both terrifying, big things that just, like, seem big in your head. You're like, oh, these are
Yes.
in big deals, like big career markers. So they're scary. They're extra scary on top of already, like, yeah, I'm stage fright. I don't know why I do this job. It's crazy. But I don't know. The solo show is scary in a super different way. It's scary because there's no one to catch you if you drop a line or something. It's scary
Yes.
because yeah, it's going to be a mix of people who really know you, who are very close in proximity, like in the audience watching. It's scary because I don't want to let down Charissa or the rest of the team. It's scary because this story matters to me and feels personal, and I want it to be effective. I want people to feel something. I'm doing this because I think it's a story that deserves to be told. So I have a stake in it. I want it to be good. I want people to come and enjoy, and feel something. So there's for me, some actors are very lucky and they really don't get the jitters. But for me, yeah, I'm sure that this will be maybe not bigger or smaller, but just scary in a different way.
Yes.
Yeah. But also fun.
Yes, yeah.
I'm like, it's a challenge.
But also, like, I really do want to do this.
Also, I really do love it. I'm having a fabulous time, and it's a joyful, happy, fun show. But yeah, I'm really excited for it. Again, like, it's a challenge, but I think that it's the right time for it, and I do feel like I can handle it, and that it's going to be a great ride. It's going to be a super fun roller coaster.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, looking at your very stacked resume, I'd say I'd say you're prepared too. Shakespeare, I need to talk about Shakespeare a little bit because you're Juliet in Romeo and Juliet at Stratford. That's amazing. When you said being nervous doing your first monologue as Juliet and in Stratford, when I think about Shakespeare and doing Shakespeare, it's something that I can't improv myself out of if you screw it up, or like it's the only show where like everyone in the audience also knows your lines.
Yes. Oh my God. The pressure of like,
Right.
30% of this audience actually knows the words better than anyone. Like, that's crazy.
That's terrifying to me.
Yeah.
So how did you handle the stress of that, of memorizing Shakespeare and performing Juliet?
Yeah. It's such a funny thing. Shakespeare is so delicious and interesting, and I sincerely hope that I get to do more and more of it because I've only done 3 Shakespeare productions, and I just know that I have so much more to learn, and every time I get to do it, I love it. Yeah, it's such an interesting thing, right? Because in some ways, it's almost easier to memorize because it is so like melodic and lyrical.
Yes.
Iambic pentameter like serves you. It's a metronome. It's a rhythm. So in a lot of ways, it's like, oh yeah, the end of that line could only be this because it's the only thing that it's exactly what needs to come next.
Yes.
Because the writing is brilliant. But yeah, if you go up, it's like, oh God, I can't remember the perfect thing. It's going to be really obvious if I'm improvising.
Right.
Luckily, I don't think that happened much. I think maybe like, occasionally I go up and you do the quick mini panic, but then you just be like, okay, the thing I just said was da 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 da. So the next thing has to be like you just,
Okay.
it feels like you're out there for an hour going, I don't know, but in reality, it's half a second, and you just breathe. Just breathe. If you breathe 90% of the time, it'll just come back. When you start holding your breath and you panic is when you're going to get in trouble. But
that's true. That's a good hot tip.
Yeah. Oh, breath, baby, breath.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I should have started at the beginning. When did you want to know, or when did you know that you wanted to be an actor?
I came to it pretty late, actually. I mean, there's no right or wrong time to, mix it up, try something new, explore, do whatever you want to do. But when I got to school, I was in a school in a year with a lot of people who had known since they were like 6 years old that they wanted to be an actor. Some of my classmates already had an agent, already had a resume with professional credits, were already union members. So I was mega intimidated because all through my childhood, all the time growing up, I knew that I wanted to be a vet, and that was always my dream. And I did community theater and I did high school drama and all that stuff, but like very much just for fun, never ever with the expectation that it was like what I was going to do as a career. It was just an after school extracurricular. And I loved it. And it was my mom who first kind of said, are you sure you don't want to take a shot at this because you really do seem to love it and you seem to be good at it. And, you know, I grew up in a really small town where, excuse me, I grew up in a really small town where like certainly no one was like a professional actor. No one was like working in TV or theater. Like there wasn't a theater industry in this town of 4,000 people, right? So like I just had no understanding of what a career like that could even look like. Like truly, I thought like if you were an actor, that meant you were in Hollywood. Like that was my frame of reference, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, I can't do that. What are you talking about? That's cuckoo. But with her encouragement, I auditioned for a program and actually got in, and it was one of the best programs in the country. So I was like, okay, well, that maybe means something. So let me try it for a year. And if I hate it, then like I'll just go back. I'll, you know, go to Guelph University and I'll do the vet thing, which is what I always planned. But then doing it full time, being in school for it, I fell even more in love with it. And I was like, ah, man, I've been bitten so hard by the theater bug. Like now this really is. I used to think it was so cheesy when people would say, I can't imagine doing anything else with my life. And I was like, whatever, of course you can. People change careers all the time. But it's not that I can't imagine doing anything else with my life. It's I really don't want to do anything else with my life. I love it so much. And I can't believe that I get to do what I do for a living. It makes no sense. It's amazing. It's amazing. So even on the hard days when you're struggling, it's good to remember that and find that gratitude of like, my job is amazing. I get to just act. I get to just be in community with beautiful people and tell stories. Like it's incredible.
Yes.
So yeah, so I started actually training when I was probably around like 17, 18. And I've been doing it ever since. Yeah.
That's amazing. And what program did you go to for school?
I went to Sheridan College for their Bachelor of Music Theater Performance.
Nice.
I was in the very first year that they did a degree program. It had been a diploma program before that. And my year was the first to graduate with a degree. So the program was going through lots of changes and lots of, you know, they're figuring a lot of stuff out. And I'm certain that since graduating, the program has continued to evolve and change. So it's a very different program than I went through. But even then, Sheridan definitely had a great reputation for turning out graduates who were successful and who found work after graduation. So I was like, okay, I'll see what it's all about. Whatever. I've never heard of Sheridan. You know, I was like, oh, there's a waitlist for this program. I guess I should try. I guess I should work hard.
That's
And
hilarious.
thank goodness I did because I loved it.
That's amazing. And how did becoming union work for you?
I was very blessed, very privileged. My story is not the standard story in this industry. My very first job after graduation was the Canadian premiere of Kinky Boots. And it
Amazing.
started like literally when I graduated. So I finished in, I don't know, whatever, April or something. And I think we started rehearsal in May. So
Wow.
that is not the standard. That is not like, that is
That's
not
amazing. Was that just
necessarily the
a
normal career path. But yeah, I got to get my equity card right away and work on this really incredible Broadway production, you know, in Toronto with this fabulous cast. It was, and like have a really long contract that paid well right
yeah.
out of the gate. Like that, all of those things are not necessarily everyone's experience. So I'm really lucky that way.
That's everyone's dream though.
It is. Girl, I've been lucky.
I love it. That's amazing. And was that just like an open call audition or an
Yeah.
no
It was. I mean,
way?
it was Stephanie Gorin who was the casting director. So obviously, I'm sure that some people had like their proper time slots. But I was in fourth year of college. Like you know, I think I did have an agent at that time, but you know, no one knew who I was. I didn't have a name, so I went to the open call with all of my friends. We all went, and we all were like, "Oh, none of us are going to book this. Like, we're all 21. None of us are booking this. This is ridiculous." But then I got a call back, and then it went really, really well. And then I got the crazy call that they were offering me the role.
That's
So that was pretty special.
amazing.
Yeah,
That is so cool.
yeah, it was pretty cool.
I love that. Was that with Graham Scott Fleming?
It was.
I went to high school with him.
No way! Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Yeah, he's incredible in that role. It's a crazy thing and really a beautiful character arc for Charlie. Sweet
Yeah.
Charlie.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, he was great. The whole
That's
cast was great. It was
amazing.
awesome. Yeah.
I love that. I remember seeing that show. I would have seen you and not even known it
There you
yet.
go.
That's amazing. That is so cool. I love that. And then after that, what happens after Kinky Boots? Shaw?
No, after Kinky Boots, everyone thought I was out of my mind because we had a beautiful, juicy, long contract, like which, as you said, for so many people is the dream. Like, um, there are not a ton of jobs and opportunities in Canada where you get a long-term contract. Like, 3 months is a juicy contract for a lot of people.
Right.
6 months, 8 months, incredible. A year, which is what Kinky Boots was, is a year-long contract. That was, kind of the dream. And the show was doing really well. It was super successful. The audiences were loving it. So they were going to extend our contracts. Our 1 year was coming up and they were going to extend.
Wow.
And I opted not to. Yeah, I know I'm crazy, but also I'm not crazy. I just follow my gut. Listen to your gut, people.
Yes, I
Your
was
gut's
just gonna
so
say,
smart.
was it that good old intuition?
That good old intuition. Yeah, I had auditioned for The Wizard of Oz at Young People's Theater. And this is like it's like a 10-week contract, like short, at this beautiful but much smaller theater, and it's theater for young audiences, downtown Toronto, uh, and I was going to be playing Dorothy, and yeah, everyone thought I was crazy. They're like, "That's half your paycheck for like no time. You have nothing lined up after that. Why would you leave this gig?" Um, but I had just been playing Nicola for a year and I loved her and I feel like I got to go on a beautiful journey with her and truly I was hungry for more stage time. It was also like kind of an isolated track because she was a feature role. She's the girlfriend of the main character, but she's sort of if you're looking at archetypes, she's like the mean girl who like doesn't support his dreams, blah blah blah.
Right.
Debatable. Girl was just like smart and had her fit together, like
Right.
anyone who wants to chat to me about Nicola and how she's actually the smartest woman, let's chat. But I got to defend my character. I got to defend my girl. But
Right.
she didn't get to do all of the like super fun ensemble stuff, all of like the big happy numbers. She was always the one that like came in and was the downer. And she got to sing in the big happy finale, which was great. But I was like, okay, I've done this for a year, and I loved it. I learned so much. I got to work with amazing people, but I'm just ready for something different. I'm ready to shake it up.
Yeah.
And I thought that, playing Dorothy in this iconic and beautiful show at this new theater, like it's just good to keep growing, keep learning, try something new. And of course, like how incredible to get to play the star, the lead in the next show I did. And so I was like, yeah, I need to keep connecting with other artists. I need to keep building my resume, showing people what else I can do. And Dorothy is also in such opposition to Nicola. So I was like, yeah, let me do it. I want to try it. And I think it was the right call because at that time it was very much like some people had started to know my name, knew that like, oh, that's that girl in Kinky Boots, sure, whatever. But then getting to be Dorothy, I got to show like the young, vulnerable, sweet side. I got to do more a very different style of singing, very legit, very soprano, not big Broadway belt, happy, happy musical. Um, and yeah, I got to work with incredible people and we got great reviews and it was just so much fun. And I think that those two things in combination really launched my career. I think that if I had, I think Kinky Boots only ran like 3 or 4 months after that. But I think if I had stayed there and not had another project to launch into, I might have had a different kind of momentum and things might have taken a bit longer to ramp up. But those two things kind of back to back. And Kinky Boots like built my confidence so much. So I felt ready to be like, yeah, let me take on a leading role. So yeah, I've had a really beautiful career. I've been extremely lucky. And when I look back on it, there are the things when I'm like, oh, I thought that was such a big deal at the time, or, I was so devastated I didn't get X, Y, Z. But when you look back, you're kind of like, oh no, all these puzzle pieces fit together really beautifully, actually. And we all are where we are because of where we came from. So I'm really grateful for all of the crazy journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right about the Kinky Boots and Dorothy, because it's easy if you just did Kinky Boots to then just stick you in a box and
Right.
say, okay,
Exactly.
she's a one trick pony.
Mm-hmm.
She
Yeah.
can play this kind of character, but doing such a different character.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, She got range.
Hopefully, I hope so.
I love it. That's awesome. That is so cool. Do you have a favorite project that you've worked on, or
Oh,
a
people
favorite
ask me this
character?
all the time, but it's like an impossible
I know,
question.
right?
I love all of it for different reasons, right? Like I
Yep.
love Nicola and I love Kinky Boots for different reasons, and I loved Dorothy, and I loved Mary Poppins, and I loved, Is God Is, then I loved Juliet and RJ. Like there's every one of them is so different, and it's kind of your job as an actor to fall in love with them.
Yeah.
Of course, some contracts are more difficult than others, and sometimes you're just like with people who you're like, oh, these are my people, like we click, this is amazing.
Yes.
But I really do think like I don't have a favorite, Even people ask all the time, like, was working on Broadway your favorite? And I'm like, working on Broadway was amazing because it was working on Broadway, but I feel like I can't even like that was an amazing experience, but it was also such a unique experience because I was a standby. It was my first time being on Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
I got to, watch that musical be built from the ground up. Like there were so many parts of that I'm like, if I did another show on Broadway, I'm sure it would be a very different experience. So
Yeah.
yeah, I feel I have a very hard time putting down like a favorite or even a top three. I have had such a beautiful career and I've gotten to work with such phenomenal artists. So it's very, very hard to pick.
Absolutely. And I find like the characters kind of come at a perfect time in life. Like each one is just like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this one makes so much sense for life right now. And the
Yeah,
next one comes, you're like,
totally.
oh, this is perfect for life right now.
Yeah, you're like, oh, this is meeting me where I'm at in a really cool way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's amazing. That is so cool. Do you still take classes at all for acting classes or just
I
working and coaching?
should. I
I should.
should.
I mean, it's
I should.
working out for you.
No, listen, I am always one who's like, go to class, go to class, go to class, go to class. I do take semi-regular singing lessons with my coach, Joe Fillion, who's in Toronto. But yeah, I don't love the Zoom coaching. I much prefer in person. And
Same.
oftentimes, when you are an actor, you are bouncing around and you live in different places. So sometimes
True.
it is very hard to stay really regular. And then other times, I'm just too tired, to be honest. I will often, well, not even often lately, but there was definitely a time where, like, especially with film and TV, which is another area where I feel like I am less experienced, and I just really want to keep learning and keep doing the hustle. If it was like a really, really great role, I'd book a coaching for that, make sure I had other eyes on it, that I had someone else helping me to craft the tape to really show, the best version of myself possible. And, like if there's a big callback or something and I'm like, I know there's a way that I could make singing this easier or singing this more efficient or whatever, or, I'm really struggling with this one section or this one note, then of course I'll book my coaching with Jill and we'll work through it together and solve it. Um, but yeah, I'm very. It's not a complaint because it's absolutely a blessing. But sometimes I am a bit too busy to do it regularly, um, and especially right now, like that's the other thing that's really cool about doing a solo show is that it's just me for 8 hours a day. So when I get home,
Yeah.
I have nothing left in the tank. Like I need to sit in front of the TV and not speak and just be a little
Yeah.
loaf. I don't want to be coaching the monologue that I have for the next gig that's coming up in 3 months. I don't want to look at that. I don't want to think about that. I need to just be here because it is all consuming.
Yeah, and with rehearsals on a well, rehearsals in any show, it is
Mm-hmm.
that is the class.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is the practice.
Totally.
That's the purpose of class is just to,
Exactly.
be ready for rehearsal and whatnot. So if you're in rehearsal, you in class, that's all
Yeah,
right.
you're flexing all the muscles, right? It's a workout. You're training your brain and your body, and you're doing all the things. You're always asking yourself, how can I do this better? How can I improve? So absolutely, rehearsals are any production is like you've done the training. Now you're working it out, and working it out doesn't mean that you've like perfected it and that it's done and it's ready. It's still process. Even
Yeah.
up until the last second of closing night, you're in process. You're still trying to find out what's the most fun option? What's the most devastating option? What's the most, you're just always exploring.
Yeah.
So totally. Yeah, I am in that way. I am always in class, and I'm always trying to figure out what I can work on and what I can get better at.
Amazing. I love that. That is so cool. What's the best, I don't want to say best advice, but like, what's your favorite tool in your toolkit for acting that you've been given?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Well, thank you.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely a bit of a geek for text analysis. Like, I love diving into that. And it's one of the reasons that I love, like, especially in a play, although in a musical too, but especially in a play, like, I could spend a month at the table just like drilling the text and trying to find every reason, every choice, and every like, well, why did the playwright put the comma there instead of there? And even in the show we're doing right now, Shedding a Skin, the formatting of the script is so interesting. And there'll be lots of times where Charissa and I will be like, yeah, well, she left, there's a page break there, or like there's a space between that there. So I think, is that beat intentionally? Do we need to hold space for that beat? Do we need to move through it? What makes the most sense for us? What's like the sharpest turn to make there? Like, there's so much information on the page. So I love text analysis. Um,
Yeah, it's like actively being a detective.
yeah, it's so fun. And like sometimes when you're in the audition flurry, and if you're doing more than one thing at a time, it's really easy to forget to take the time, or not even to forget to take the time, just like you don't have the time to really spend digging into that. So when I have dedicated time in rehearsal to do that, I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Um, I love hearing other people's perspectives on it too, and being like, "Oh, you got that from that line? That's not what I was thinking at all. That's so interesting. We heard that so differently. I wonder if I can get something juicy out of your perspective of that." So that's really fun. Yeah.
Amazing. I love that. That is so cool.
Hmm.
So with this show coming up, you're about to move into the theater, right? Is
Yep.
this the space? There's no like backstage or anything in
Not
this space, or is there wings on the side?
I don't think we have wings. Like we've just got the maquette, and it is quite an open space. And I
Okay.
don't. Yeah, there's not the traditional backstage where like you can see the proscenium, and then there's like the curtains that are the wings. It's not that. I believe it
Yeah.
is just like the open space, and we have our set plunked down in the middle of it. Um,
Beautiful.
yeah, it's gonna be cool. I've never worked at Buddy's before, so I'm very excited to get more familiar with that space. I've seen stuff there, but I've never worked there myself, so that's gonna be really cool.
Nice. Do you have a favorite venue that you've worked at? Because sometimes I do love a good
Ooh.
venue.
My favorite venue. I mean, the Royal Alex was the first theater I worked in, so it will always have a special place in my heart. And I get to go back there this summer for Natasha
Yay!
Pierre and the Great Comet. So I'm really excited to be back there almost 10 years later. That's crazy. Almost a
Amazing.
decade later. That'll be really cool. So that's always going to have like a special place in my heart. But yeah, I don't know. The Festival Theater at Stratford is like really incredible and super unique and just amazing. It's just absolutely built for the thing. Like the acoustics are unreal. The way that the audience literally feels all encompassing, and you feel so close to them, and yet you know that there's like 1,800 people there. It's crazy. Um, yeah, but I also love, we did Passing Strange at the Opera House, which is not really a theater venue. It's a music venue. And so I also love like doing something in a place that isn't normally set up for that, and like finding the challenges and unique special quirks of that place. And when I was in school, we did this huge site specific show called Brantwood at an old school. And we completely transformed the space, and the entire thing was, probably like, I don't know, several, maybe over 1,000 square feet, maybe 2,000. I don't know. It's a whole school, so huge. And that was really cool because you got to have these intimate moments, like by the lockers, or like in the change room, or like with the audience. I mean, like they're just walking through a school with you. So I also really love doing theater in kind of weird, unexpected places. I think that's so much fun.
Nice. That's awesome. And you mentioned earlier that you're tapping into directing now.
Yeah.
What made you want to go into directing?
Oh, lots of things. I think I started like formally looking into training in around 2020, and a lot of that definitely was because I was like, I mean, I think first I really just saw and acknowledged that I was like, oh, if I want to have more agency over the kind of work I do, I'm, you know, it's not impossible that an actor can like pitch a show and say, I really want to do this, but um, if I wanted more influence over the stories I got to tell, I was like, I would love to direct and be able to say, like, this story deserves to be heard, or like, this is what I think we should be looking at right now. And I really wanted to tell more stories about, Black people, Black women. I really wanted to also be, I hadn't worked with a ton of female directors of color. And I was like, I see the gap there and I would like to fill it. And I think that I'd be good at that. And yeah, I just like, I love building the world as a character. And I was really curious about building the world from the outside, getting to really like be the person who puts together the vision and who, um, gets to work on it from that side. And I've really loved it. I've really, really loved it. It has been such a cool addition to my practice. And it's so fulfilling and it's totally different. But it's such an interesting other side of art making, and collaborative again, but in such a different way than being an actor. Uh, yeah, it's really, really cool. And again, I really hope I get to do more and more of it because um, I enjoy it so much. And I think that, yeah, now more than ever, like art is, well, not more than ever, but now especially art is so important. Like the world is in such a horrible, dark place. So many things are overwhelming and bad and sad, and people are struggling. And art, is revolutionary. So I think the stories we tell matter, and I think who we allow to tell those stories matters. So yeah, there's lots of different elements that went into my decision to like, see if I was into this, and I'm really happy that I am, and I really love it. Yeah.
Amazing. I love that. Yes, you're so right about art and today being shit. Like
Unfortunately.
yeah, yeah, it is so important. So important. Um oh, I wanted to ask, I forgot to ask. Back to Shakespeare. Do you have a dream? You said you wanted to do another Shakespeare play. Do you have like a dream role that you would want to do in Shakespeare?
Honestly, it's gonna sound crazy. I would love another whack at Juliet. I feel
Yes.
like I was just figuring out so much stuff and just getting out of my own head, you know? And we got to have a long, beautiful run, and I got to discover a lot of stuff during it. But yeah, I would love to do like another production that's totally different. That's like not set in, Renaissance Verona. Like I'd love to do an R&J and get to play Juliet, in 2025 in like a mini skirt
Yes.
and combat boots. Like I would love to do that.
That's amazing.
Um, I would also, I mean, who doesn't want to be Lady M? Like, I'm many years away from that. I think I need a lot more practice before we can tackle that. But I would love to do that. Uh, it's all the boring answers. It's all the classic stuff. Like I'd love to be Ophelia. I'd love to be, all these
Yes.
dramatic ladies.
100%.
Yeah, I don't know, but truly, I'm like, give me anything. Give me,
Yeah. Fair
give me
enough.
anything. Yeah, it'd be really cool, and it's great to see, so much like, um, so much casting that's going outside of like what we expect from Shakespeare. So I'm also like,
Yes.
oh, actually, you can play anything in Shakespeare now. For a long time, I was like, oh, I'm a Black woman, so I'm just, even if I think I can do this thing, I don't want to have to convince someone else that I'm able to,
Yeah.
play this character. Like if you don't want to expand your horizons, then like I'm not gonna be the one to
Yeah, then
suffer
don't.
through
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
Right. So but now it's so exciting there. People are really actually just like making it fresh again, because that's the other thing, as you said, like people know Shakespeare, we know these stories. Not everyone. It was actually very cool to be doing, we had some student matinees at Stratford, and it was cool and bizarre to be like, oh, these kids don't know how this story ends. Like they are
That's
shocked. They
so
are
funny.
discovering it for the first time. So of
Oh,
course
I
there are lots of people
love
who
that.
don't know Shakespeare, and they're encountering it for the first time. But there's also lots of us who've seen it, who've heard of it, who've seen the film productions of it, who've seen a billion different stage adaptations and productions. Um, so I think that interesting casting is one of the best ways to like shake it up and like show me why this is relevant. Show me why we still are telling these stories.
Yes.
And I think that getting new perspectives on it is like the best way to do that.
Hmm.
So yeah, it really feels like the whole world is open. It's, the world, Shakespeare is my oyster. I would love to
Right?
to dive in and do more. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, and Romeo and Juliet is one of those plays, one of many plays that you can easily switch the story of what separates them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's race or classism or whatever. You can easily make it many different things, and it just makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I hadn't seen Wicked, the theater play,
Mm-hmm.
but I watched Wicked the movie,
Yeah.
and then I left going, why did they cast a white girl as I love Adita, I love her, but I was like, this is the story of black people. Like
Mhm.
this is not a white girl story.
Right? It's so funny, right? Because it's always been a story about literally a colored woman. Green, but like babes. Like if you've ever read the novels from Wicked, like they are so political. It's always been that
Oh
story. But
really?
yes,
Yeah.
sometimes specific casting just like enlightens us a little bit and lets us see it a little more clearly. Yeah, the metaphors and the political commentary in Wicked is not subtle, and it never
Right?
has been. It
Yeah.
never has been. But it's incredible that yes, again, exactly as you say, casting a black woman in that role just made everyone go, oh, oh, it's
Mm-hmm.
that. Like it's, and again, it's yeah. Why is Wicked still running on Broadway years and years later? Because that story still matters, and it's
Still
cool to illuminate
applies.
that in a different way. But it's relevant. That's
Mm-hmm.
why we're still doing it. That's why it still makes you feel something.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Is there
and just like
ever
exploring all the different things, right?
Yeah, for sure. Is there ever a role that you've gone for and you're like, "Oh, I'm definitely not going to get this one," and then you've booked it?
Hmm.
Other than Kiki Boots. Then you're like, we're not going to get a call back. Let's just go for fun.
Again, this is like my own stuff to delve into, but I feel like I'm always like, I'm not gonna get there. It's me every time. I'm like, oh well, that audition wasn't great. Oh well, I didn't find what I got. It went better in my shower, like it's always involved. Like,
Always.
oh, I don't think I slayed that. Um, there are some roles where I have been like, I am not the right person for this, and I will just send regrets to the audition and say thank you so much for thinking of me, but I don't think that this is the right role for me. I think I'm not the right person to tell that story.
Fair.
Uh, but yeah, usually, I'm pretty gung ho to go for anything and everything. But yeah, I do remember Carolina Change. Like I knew it wasn't a bad thing, but I did know that I was like, oh, that's not how I wanted that to go. I had this beautiful, beautiful song um, called "The Bus," I think, and it's absolutely heartbreaking, and it's written so beautifully. And I like literally could not get through singing it without crying. And I'd
Oh.
maybe gotten through it like two times all the way without crying, like practicing alone in my home. I was like, okay, like, I love this story. I love this song. This is so beautiful. This character is gorgeous. I really, really hope I get it. So I wanted it really badly. And
Mm.
I got in the room and I like bawled. God, they were very kind. It was like, just take a breath. And I think that like again, like that's what I mean when I say like it was bad in a good way, that they were like, oh, she cares. Like she's really invested and she's going on the journey. She cares. But I
Right.
was like, babe, you have to be able to sing it without crying. You have to. So,
Pull it
took a
together.
breath, got to do it again, but like warbly voice because I'd been crying. Like very emotional, like wasn't breathing well, wasn't supported, wasn't like the
Right.
good strong audition I wanted to give. And I was like, well, I know there's like loads of women in the city who would crush that part, so it might just not be me that time, and that's okay. And I really said goodbye to that role. And then when I got the call, I was like, I can't believe you trust me with this, but thank you so much, and I will do my very best to make you proud.
I
Um,
love that. That's an
yeah,
amazing story.
yeah.
I love it. That's so funny. Just balls. But I don't
Just
know,
balls.
not caring if you're gonna book it might be working for you.
Well, listen, it's not caring. I care
Yeah,
far
just
too
like
much, but it's just always being like,
the
oh,
unattachedness though of like if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's
that's something
like
that has come with practice and with age for sure. Being able to say like, actually, it's okay, and every audition isn't your last, and actually the chances that this is like the make or break of your career is very, very low. It's super unlikely that this random, gay player on TV or that this one play is going to be the thing that like changes your life.
Yeah.
And also in many ways, maybe it will be because any woman could be the thing that changes your life. But you've really got to learn. There's so much rejection in this industry. You have to learn how to
Mm-hmm.
just be like, I did what I did. I did my best on the day that I had. I tried to prepare as much as I could. Um, I did my best. I did what I could. And then it's like, sometimes you can do your absolute best and it's just not about you. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's not the right one. Or someone else is just so perfectly it
Yeah.
that it had to be done. And it's great to get the perspective of being like, actually, I'm just going to cheer you on because that's awesome. And there's enough to go around,
Yeah.
we can all do it and support each other and lift each other up. And me not getting it is not a failure. And I want to be the kind of artist who lifts up other people. I don't ever want to be the kind of artist that's tearing people down. I'm just not interested in that.
Yeah. I just have a final question for you. If you could give yourself, your younger self, a piece of advice, what advice would you give your younger self?
Today, the advice I would give baby Vanessa is like, just breathe, babe, and have fun. Don't be so stressed. It's advice that present day Vanessa could use as well. Like, just breathe. It's
Yeah.
all okay. We are so lucky to get to do what we do. And also, we're lucky because it's fun. So don't get so stressed that it's not fun. Keep
Yes.
breathing, freaking chill. and, uh, and also good advice is like, don't make it your whole entire life and personality. Like, go do other things, find other hobbies. Um, you know, uh, I have done that and have been very grateful to like have a life. And it's hard, right? Because we work with and we love and we are friends with all these people in our community, and that's super normal. You get close with the people you work with, but also like yeah, you have worth outside of your job,
Mm-hmm.
and you are a better, more rounded version of yourself when you are not solely invested in one thing. Like go explore, see other stuff, travel, be a three-dimensional human being.
Yes, absolutely. Couldn't
Yeah.
agree more. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me
Thank you.
today.
It's been so lovely chatting.
Let us know one more time where people can get tickets and when the show is.
Yes, Nightwood Theater. Buy your tickets. The show is Shedding a Skin. We play at Buddies in Bad Times Theater. Come out, come say hey, give me a wave and a hug.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I'll let you get back to rehearsal.
Thank you.
Thanks so
Great chatting
much.
with you. Take care.
Thank you so much for listening. Tell me your favorite takeaway in the comments below and tell me which night you're going to go see Shedding a Skin. And I'll see you in the next interview.